So we're here with Brad Jerominski from Club 57. Been here a month and about to fly home back to the USA. Thanks for talking to us one last time, Brad. Before you head home. I mean, it won't be the last time, but
mate. Before I head home.
Yeah. So tell us about your experience here in Australia. Firstly, the country and countryside. And
flying here was I didn't know what to expect. No idea.
Yeah, with me, I thought I was scared and happy.
So
that was Wyatt, by the way.
Yeah, Wyatt. Okay, we're doing an interview. So coming here, we really didn't know what to expect. But it's very similar to the U.S. I felt at home. There wasn't any sort of culture shock. However, leaving here, 5 weeks into this thing, I have a new respect for motocross outside the U.S.
What do you mean by that?
It's difficult here. It's difficult to formulate a regimen that will produce results. So without a work ethic, this sport will chew you up and spit you out over here. Back home, it's easy.
Everyth's there, right?
Everything's there, and people with the half-assed work ethic, well, they'll get decent results just because everything's readily available here, and you see why this country produces the handful of elite riders, because the work ethic to formulate a program goes far beyond talent. And you can look at any point of the country to produce someone. Between the ever beloved Reed to Metcalf to Byrne to all those guys that kind of set the foreground, and before that, at least back in the day. So you see firsthand why this country will produce what it does. It's almost like exercising with a weighted vest.
Yeah,
would be my best analogy to Australian motocross. As life in general, it's no different than America. Just a little bit more traffic, a little bit more liter per gallon per diesel. But motocross is challenging for sure.
I think it is difficult. I mean, you work with some riders that, when you're over here, including your own Daniel, but you work with Jesse, you've worked with Aaron Taney, Connor Tiani, and a couple of others. Mm-hmm. How did you find the differences in these guys' approach to back home in America?
Well, obviously I was introduced to riders that were interested in training. So that was it's not like we were just walking through a local track asking people if they wanted to train. So there was a general interest in what I had to say, and then the processing that information was awesome. I know that I had an impact on those guys, both on and off the racetrack, that'll last them a lifetime. So, we've got some plans in the works to continue training them, online and doing some YouTube videos and try and continue the procedure through technology, and then maybe come see me in the U.S.
Yeah, so I mean that's obviously part of the plan, is a pathway for Australian riders who have worked hard here and put the effort in to then be able to make a transition over to you and have things there to make it better for them.
Yeah, and that's all along going. The whole concept of this experiment was to create that pathway. But one thing that was never thought about or I considered was how bulletproof the program becomes when you have riders that work hard, right?
Yep.
So once you have that, I mean, Jesus, I rode in stuff. I mean, in a cow pasture, made a turn track one day, and guys couldn't have been happier. So when I get a work ethic like that back home, where everything is on the same property, water prepped, ready to go, on time, no traffic, no BS.
Yeah.
No, none of those hidden tangibles that are thrown our way over here. With that work ethic, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, it is. And what did you think? I mean, you've been to the 2 Supercross events. Tell us what you think about the depth of talent in both classes.
The 450 class goes without saying. I mean, I expected those guys to be good. I was a little bit taken back by the level of Supercross technique based on you only do 6 rounds here. I mean, your Supercross schedule is 8-9 weeks long compared to 5-6 months for us back in the States. So I wasn't expecting everybody to look so efficient in the whoops and their timing and how big they're jumping. So that's encouraging. That the 450 guys look great. The depth of the 250 class is a little bit thinned out, but what's refreshing about that class, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big class. That's that's the lifeline of Australian motocross. I was able to visit a couple practice tracks and ride park down south. And that's aside from the weather. I mean, that's on par with anything that we have in the U.S.
Yeah.
In terms of accessibility and
it's just the distance between accessibility and tracks.
Mm-hmm. What was nice about there is they had something for everybody. Of all the places I saw, that place catered to the beginners, it catered to the pros, it catered to the vets. I mean, it had something for everyone to do.
Yeah. Okay. And. Tell us a little bit about your protege, Daniel. Mm-hmm. How's he shaping up? And he's just a quick overview of his first 2 rounds.
If I'm going to be frank,
which you generally are,
which I always am. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. If it's in the dictionary, I can say it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's been some hurdles. So to say that I'm getting on the plane saying job well done, we did it, absolutely not. I think that there's a lot of...
No attaboys yet?
None. In fact, we had a little long drive home from Melbourne to Sydney, the 2 of us, based on the weekend. But with that being said, we discussed a lot of the weaknesses, a lot of the trials and tribulations, if you will. And he's got 4 rounds left. So he's got 4 rounds to pull his head out of his ass and do what he came here to do.
Yep.
I mean, the first round was unlucky because we went down in the first turn. But I mean, still, I wasn't super pumped after we got up and rode. And then I thought that we had we struggled finding that intensity during the week for whatever reason, with it being feeling tired or homesick or who knows what the deal is. But there's some challenges that he's yet to overcome that he's right on the edge of doing.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
But until that happens, there will be no attaboys. Until that's done, we've come too long of a distance to just hand out handshakes that aren't warranted. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, Daniel's sitting here, so we're not talking behind his back.
He's sitting right next to me. But I mean, I'm not going to keep pouring salt in the wound, but I am going to keep picking the scab off so he doesn't forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, I mean, everyone's accountable for. Look, Wyatt, my son, is accountable for brushing his teeth in the morning. If he doesn't, he gets his ass whipped. I mean, let me rephrase it. He gets a talking to, right? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, myself included. That if you don't perform the task at hand, then you have to be evaluated.
Okay. Well, we might wrap it up there, but, from myself and everyone from KSF, mate, it's been a pleasure having you here. We've certainly learned a lot. We've heard a lot. And
Sure.
Really hope to do it again in the future. I know you talked about coming back possibly for AusX, and we'd love to have you back out here, and whatever we can do to facilitate guys moving over and training with you, we certainly will. And Mr. Brad Jerominski, thank you so much for the 5 weeks you've given KSF Racing.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, mate.